Happy New Year's! How's everybody doing? I hope everybody's doing good, and I hope the new year has started off wonderful for everybody. This was my inspiration for this DIY, and I got this off of the internet, and this is my version of that. The frames, the mirrors, all the frames, the bling wrap are from the Dollar Tree, including those swirly ones that I cut up for the top part and the sides. Those are Halloween black frames that I also purchased from the Dollar Tree. The only two things that were not from the Dollar Tree is that gift wrapping paper and the fabric. The fabric was from Walmart and it was $2 a yard on sale. And that gift wrapping was a big roll that I purchased at Marshall's for $2 on clearance. So we're going to start with the black skull frames from the Dollar Tree, and I just removed that backing and it's easy to remove. Now I'm just taking a piece of cardboard that I am trying to use as a straight edge. You can use a ruler, but that's what I'm using, and I am just showing you how I cut it. I am using the little guys, the swervy things, so that I can have 4 pieces, the 2 bottom part pieces being even, and I'm going to do the same thing with 2 frames. I'm using the soldering tool now to cut around the edges on each of the pieces that made it look like a frame, and I am just going along with the design on each of the piece. Now I'm going to take all of my pieces from the frames. I'm taking the frame apart, the backing, the glass, the mirrors, and I'm going to take them into the next room and I paint all of them silver. Now I'm just taking that gift wrapping paper that I purchased and I am tracing the outline of the backing of each of the frames so that I can cut a piece the size of the glass that goes on the frame. Once you trace, you cut it out. Take a glue stick and put a generous amount on the cardboard backing of the frame. And then fold your piece of wrapping paper as you're laying it down so it doesn't stick, and then just hold it and with the other hand just smooth it out on the cardboard. Now just add your insert with the glass to your frame. Put dabs of hot glue on all 4 corners. Here I'm hot gluing the 8x10 mirror to the frame. And I'm hot gluing those little swirly things, one on the top, one in the bottom, and one on each side of the middle frame, which is the bigger frame. Now on the smaller frames, you're going to take the back insert and you're going to cover the back insert on both sides. So the glass in the front will have the shiny paper and the back will also have the shiny paper because we're going to use both sides of the smaller mirrors. I'm just hot gluing the swirly part to the bottom corner and then that part to the top. of the small frame. The other side should have that piece on the opposite side bottom and that top part on the top part also. And if you're going to hot glue your mirrors together, which at the end I had to because my hinges were acting up and they were really hard and they would not stick with the hot glue or the epoxy that I was using. There was hardly any epoxy on there, so I think that was the reason why it wasn't mixing well. But I wound up not using the hinges, and here I just show you that I made little holes I made little indents the sizes of the hinges on each frame, just so that it wouldn't bump with the other frame. But it didn't work out, so I wound up using hot glue and Fix It All Adhesive to glue all 3 frames together. But this is the part, if you're going to use hinges, this is the part where you would do that. Here I just took these little hooks that I had and I glued them to one of the backing of the smaller mirrors. That's the back of the mirror. What's laying on the table is the mirror itself. And I just put some hooks there, and then I'm covering the hooks with some gems. And I use small gems on the smaller hooks in the middle of each larger, and I use larger gems on the bigger hook. Here I'm just using some diamond wrap to cover up the mat that goes on that frame, and I use the mats that come with those types of picture frames from the Dollar Tree, and these are the good square picture frames that have that white mat inside. Those are the 2 smaller ones that I use from the Dollar Tree. Don't use an 11 by 14 frame from the Dollar Tree for the middle part of this DIY. I'm using a foam board that I purchased at the home improvement store, and it is thicker. I'm just measuring that middle frame, and I'm using those 3 little blocks to make sure that the entire piece is leveled. I'm using a utility knife with the edge of a metal ruler to make sure that I have a straight edge. Now I'm taking the insert from that 11 by 14 frame, and that's the piece of paper, and I'm using that as a template so that I could draw a design of that bottom piece of foam that I just cut out. And I folded the paper in half, and then I folded it a second time, giving me 4 pieces, and then I folded that in half. And now I'm drawing the design with a pencil, and then I'm gonna cut it out with some scissors. Then I'm going to trace that on that piece of foam, and then I'm going to cut that out with the utility knife. That right there is the middle, and you're gonna align that template, which is a little bit smaller than the piece of foam. And what you're going to do is you're going to make sure that on the ends, on both ends, there's just enough on both ends that the middle of that insert is still the middle of the foam board. And if you zoom in, you can see what I mean. Now I'm just using the utility knife to cut out that piece because you can't use scissors. If you use scissors, you're gonna mess up the foam. Once I cut it out, I took it to the next room. I spray painted both sides, and while that dried, I went on to the next step. I took a piece of cardboard and I took a ruler. I measured all four sides. I traced, I cut with the utility knife. It was easier. And it gave me that piece for the middle of the frame. Now I'm going to take that middle piece of cardboard. I'm going to cover it up in felt. And I use one piece to cover up the cardboard. And then I take two pieces, cut them in half, giving me two pieces. And I put that doubled up piece in the middle. So it's half and half. The bottom part is still covered with the felt, but the top part has two pieces, which is a little cushionier, if that's a word. Now I'm using some hot glue to glue it onto the cardboard. And now I'm going to glue those two pieces on top. Now here, I just want to make sure that I know which is the middle of that piece, and I'm using the ruler to do a line. Then on the top part where I'm going to make the tuft look or whatever it's called, I'm going to draw with the ruler the design on the back. This way I am going to know exactly where I'm going to use the needle, that type of needles. And I think I bought those from Family Dollar or General Dollar, but they also have them at Walmart. And I am using some thin ribbon that I purchased from Walmart. I think it's 49 cents or it's something like that, but it's the really, really thin one. And now I just used my grid that I drew in the back with the pencil and the ruler, and that's how I'm following that design, and that's what it's going to look like. And I just thread the ribbon through it. I make the hole, I insert the needle, I play with it to enlarge the hole on the cardboard, and then it's easier to go through. If you use hot glue on the parts that you use hot glue, it's going to give you trouble for that ribbon. So you're going to have to use less hot glue or do it on the upper edge of where you put the glue. But once you thread the needle through the cardboard and pull it up, then you're going to use that same grid to insert the needle back through the fabric and into the cardboard, pull it out through the cardboard, and you're going to tie it on the back and use a little bit of hot glue to hold the ribbon in place, and then you just tie a knot and you cut the ribbon and you start all over again. It's like if you was doing a piece of furniture, you have to do the same process, only you're doing it with a needle and you're doing it with hot glue instead of a staple gun. Now the bottom part to that piece, I'm going to take another piece of felt and I'm going to just make sure that I cut it to size. I'm going to cut a long strip, and then that piece I'm going to cut in half. And out of each strip, I'm going to cut in half, giving me two pieces out of each strip. Now I'm taking those squares or rectangles and I'm rolling them up, as you can see here. Once they're rolled up, I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue all on that edge. I'm going to glue it in place, and I'm going to make as many of these little rolls as I need to fill up that bottom. Then I'm going to take this fabric that I purchased from Walmart. It was $2 a yard. And I am going to put my little pieces of rolled up felt like that, making sure that I have enough fabric to cover all of them up. And then I'm going to separate each roll to make sure that the fabric can be covering each row in between. Also on the sides, as you can see there, I have enough fabric on both sides and in between. Now I'm going to take one of the ends and I'm going to hot glue it to the edge of one of the sides of my cardboard that's been covered with the felt. Now I'm going to start gluing the rolls onto the felt. I am taking the fabric and I am gathering it. I'm making sure that I cut extras of the corners because those corners need to be glued down. I don't want this to be bulky when I glue it to the frame. Now I'm hot gluing the other end to the other side, and once I do that, the material in the middle should be all extra. And now in between each roll, I am going to put a little bit of hot glue, and with a piece of cardboard I am going to tuck the fabric in between each of those rolls. And you're going to do that just with enough fabric so that at the end you have enough to have covered and tucked each row in, as you can see in the video. Continue to do this until all the rolls are covered and all the fabric is used. I'm cutting off the extra fabric on top. I already did it on the bottom. I hot glued it tucked into the rolls, and I'm going to do the same once I cut that fabric out. Now here I'm just taking some gem jot stickers from the Dollar Tree, and I am going to hot glue one on each of the little dents that the fabric created when I did the tufted part. Using a combination of Fix-It All Adhesive from the Dollar Tree and some hot glue, I am going to now glue this to the back of one of the frames. On this one, I just decided to put some some swirly stickers that I had from a previous craft, and I just thought that it needed something right there. I'm covering the foam base that I made for the middle frame, and I'm covering it up with diamond wrap. Now, using a combination of E6000 and hot glue, I am going to glue that foam base to the bottom of the middle of that picture frame. I also covered the bottom of the foam base with some bling wrap. Now here I am standing the frames up, and I am going to try and lean them against each other, and because I can't use the hinges because they would not function for me, I am going to use a combination of hot glue, fix all adhesive, along with some silver duct tape. Now while this dries, I'm going to put some bling wrap around the edges of this piece, and I'm going to let it dry for a couple of hours. And here is the three-sided Glam Vanity Mirror. I hope you like the video, and I hope you comment. How about you comment in the area down below and you tell me as if you were singing it, but you write it out. That would make me so happy. I know some of you as amazing as you really want to be inside, and it's okay to be silly and wonderful and just like let your inner child out. Yep, let your inner child out. Be fun. Okay, so subscribe.